So Wonderware Online is Wonderware's enabling platform for all of us to take that next step in our collective journey into further digitizing and bringing into the future all of our work streams and responding to the changing forces that are happening in industry, such as the changing nature of work and the changing nature of people doing the work themselves. In fact, Wonderware Online has two offerings. One offering is Wonderware Online Insight, which is really what I'm going to be focusing on in this session. But just so you know, in the Wonderware Online platform, there is another part which we call Wonderware Online in Studio. And Wonderware Online in Studio allows you to whip up ad hoc, on demand, an entirely virtualized architecture of system platforms. So for those of you who are familiar with the Wonderware products, and already have system platform, our on-premise industrial automation platform, you can whip up an entire system platform virtualized architecture in the cloud and use it for collaborative development, training, simulation, or even testing. And then once you're done, export the data from that galaxy or from that environment or that InTouch application and actually bring into an on-premise location. So just letting you know, that's another option. But let's talk about what Wonderware Online Insight is all about. So again, for those of you who are familiar with Wonderware Historian, which we've been doing for the last 3 decades, in fact, we had a birthday recently, so happy birthday to us. We've taken that historian, the ability to connect to virtually any device, any internet-enabled device, or I should say TCP/IP Ethernet-based device, but also any device that is based on the traditional data sets and protocols that we're used to in sort of the industrial automation side, and then be able to collect and store all of that data and then help you visualize that in a rich set of clients. But with this Wonderware Historian, we also made it so that it's natively a cloud-based application. So it's not really just taking the existing one and sticking in a virtual machine. We re-architected it to be natively a multi-tenant software as a service. And because it is a service, we back it up with a financially backed up service level agreement of 99.9% availability so that you are always confident that you have access to that data. And we've also given you a brand new set of visualization tools to make it super accessible and super consumable. In other words, to unlock the trapped data and insight that is available in that historian to a broader range of people who don't necessarily need some of the usual training that was associated with the previous experience. And we've also, by sharing this information into a secure cloud environment, which I'll discuss in a minute, it now means that it's a lot easier without compromising on security to get access to that data in the context that you might be working in, and also when you need it in the shape or form of also how you would like to interact with it. And we've also done a couple of other things that are very unique to just this version of the historian, I should say, or this offering as we bundled it and defined it into the cloud. And so let's walk through that. Here is a screenshot of the various devices. What you're seeing is a modern browser on the left-hand side with a tablet support, iPad, native mobile app, or even if you have like a Microsoft Surface Pro tablet, you can use that to navigate the data. Then you have your native mobile apps in the middle, and then topped off with wearable devices, support for smart watches or even smart glass, where you can get proactive push notifications directly to your wrist, or if you're wearing those intelligent glasses, to your face. Okay, this is our homepage. It is online.wonderware.com, and I absolutely encourage you at your earliest convenience to go visit that website. In fact, if you visit that website soon after and sign up, you can actually follow along with some of the screenshots that I'll be showing you later on. And that is exactly the point. It is super easy to get to, and there's a free demo smack in the middle of that page, which you can click on. You don't even have to sign up or register to make use of it. Just click the button, and then you can play around with the experience and the data. If you feel so inclined and hopefully energized after this presentation, we encourage you to sign up. And that is, in fact, something that you can do in just minutes. It's really nothing more than filling out a quick little form with your email address and some contact info. And then instantly, there's a freestanding trial for everyone for at least 30 days that you can then take advantage of, and again, in minutes, literally start having data from your existing devices being pushed up into the Wonderware Secure Cloud, where you can get instant visibility and then be able to do some analysis and take some action based on that. And don't worry if you get stuck. We have live chat in the bottom right corner. It's something a little bit different, but we had to do something a little bit different because we know this is a new area for a lot of people. A lot of people have a lot of questions, and that's okay. So we put this live chat, and if we're not online for whatever reason, you can also send us a quick note, and within an hour or so, typically we'll get right back to you. So helping you every step of the way. Here's what happens after you sign up and log in. You land on this kind of homepage, if you will, and what we're showing you is really two big pieces here. Down at the bottom is recently accessed content, so just making it super easy to go back to something that you were working on, maybe just last time you logged in. And then at the top, we put this search bar. And let me talk about that search bar for a second. So if you just think about how we are engaging with all things that are digital in our lives, such as the internet in general or apps on our phone, it's always really the search that is the beginning of our journey, isn't it? You just type in exactly what you're looking for, and then Google or Bing or Yahoo, whatever the case is, or the Google Play Store or the Apple Store, right? We just try to help you find what you're looking for. And all the convenience of that intelligent search is also baked right into the Wonderware Online Insight browser client, which is what I'm showing you here. So as you learned from earlier today about the promise of the Internet of Things or industrial Internet of Things, and then as you learned from our partner Advantech and their set of hardware devices that enable you to connect sensors and instrument assets and start collecting data from the field and then storing it in Wonderware Online. Now, how do you find that data to do something useful with it? Well, instead of having to have that engineering-centric mindset and 5-day training course where you had to remember the tag name hierarchy or the cryptic long tag names, now you can search for really anything about that tag. You can type the name, the description, engineering units. You can type where, from a functional area standpoint, it's located. Show me everything in, production cell 25 or zone 3 or, whatever divisions you have in your facility. And or you can also spell the name of the tag wrong, and just like Google will find it for you anyways, because we are trying to be as proactive as we can in making it as easy as possible by also removing as much of the burden on you as possible to quickly surfacing the information proactively and then allowing you to explore it and make some decisions on it so you can do your job better and faster. Let's talk about another unique feature that's down here on the right-hand side. Another very cool feature is, and this is unique to the cloud-based offering that we call Wonderware Online Insight, what we do is for every data point that you send us, completely automated out of the box without any configuration, there's no prerequisite setup, nothing that you have to do, we will start to build a data profile for every data point that you send us coming from your industrial Internet of Things devices, which could be, very cheap, low-cost sensors, $50, $100, all the way up to your multi-million-dollar assets. We'll start to build up a data profile, and over time, it takes about a week or so, roughly. Over time, once we get enough data, we conclude that this is the benchmark. This is the data pattern that is typical or usual for that asset or data point, and then we start to analyze it and monitor it. And we use machine learning, but adapted to industrial data patterns to pick up what could be unusual behavior for that tag. So let's just talk about that in a little bit more detail. I'm going to tell you about 3 data patterns that we tried to detect for you on your behalf. In the top left-hand corner, we have something called cycle time. Cycle time means that we're looking for data patterns that are highly repetitive that reflect something in your process. So for example, if you have a valve and that valve is opening and closing, normally we measure the time it takes to open and close that valve with something called travel time, right? So travel time over time could take longer because of fatigue in the materials that cause friction, and that wear and tear starts to slow down that, the efficiency of that valve opening and closing. And if we detect that deviation from normal behavior over time, we will flag it for you. Or anything else that you have in your process that is highly repetitive and that goes through these kind of, states of being on or off or starting or stopped, or whatever the case is, we'll be able to highlight that for you. On the top right-hand side, we notice another data pattern, which is the peaks and valleys. So a lot of the times, especially like in food and beverage, for example, or consumer packaged goods, you'll have like a production line, like a bottling line maybe, or a filler line. And what you're trying to do is you're trying to have some tags from that machine that's running at high speed to really, do something on spec on a particular target, right? And that sometimes is referred to as center lining. So what we do is we look at that cluster of values that are all trying to center around some kind of target. And then if for whatever reason, those data points start to deviate either upwards or below, or if it goes flatline because there's a communication problem, we will catch that for you and highlight those values in red, as you see here in that graphic. Then the final data pattern, which is pretty cool, is the one dead center here. And this one we call novel characteristics. But what that really means is that if you have a part of your data pattern that over time, let's say every X number of hours or maybe once a week, you have something about your process that is consistent about that process, but otherwise looks irregular. Like maybe there's a backwash or a cleaning procedure or something. So we end up learning about that and start taking it into consideration, incorporating it into the baseline. And so we're able to take in these kind of predictive, variations, if you will. And then we build that into the model. And then if for some reason your process deviates from that, even taken into those sort of one-off, somewhat exceptional cases, we're still able to detect if there's something unusual about that. So we're pretty excited about those three things. And like I said, this is out of the box, nothing for you to do. We just give this to you as additional information in a proactive manner to help you understand something that needs your attention, typically well in advance of traditional HMI SCADA alarms. Okay, so that's another very cool thing that we do. Let's talk a little bit about the main screen where you might be doing your process diagnostics or troubleshooting, or you're looking at the status of some asset as it's operating. Perhaps it's a remote asset out in the field. You found a way to instrument it, maybe connect it up to some cellular network or satellite or Wi-Fi or radio waves. Whatever the case is, we can ingest all of that data through all of those communication paths and then allow you to get visibility into that. So here on the main screen, we have a motor speed line chart that's going on. And just there's a flyout menu that I'm highlighting here that gives you literally no less than 12 different ways to look at the data depending on what kind of data it is and what's the context. So we have bar charts and line charts, and we support totalizers, or if you have meters, for example, if you have a scatter plot need, then we support that as well. If you need to look at the raw values in a grid, we can show that to you as well. We also have a beautiful status board, which is using my mouse for emphasis here on the top right corner, where you can have a mounted display in a large open space that everyone can focus on, like a production KPI, and will automatically refresh that for you, and it just gives you the last value. So you always know if you're on point or on target. Then down here on the bottom left-hand side, we give you the ability to add a keyword to this chart, to this visualization that we're looking at. And as you do that across some shared attribute of your process, for example, a common packaging line, or what if you're looking at energy across multiple entities, or what if you want to monitor the performance of a brand that you're making, which revolves around several segments of your process. Well, as long as you save these charts with some kind of keyword that links them to some logical grouping of your choosing, will make for you the dashboards. So once again, no coding, no prerequisites, no development per se. All we're doing is grabbing individually saved tiles, grouping them together based on a keyword, one or more keywords, and then showing that to you in one single consolidated view. And again, updating that for you automatically with this theater mode that supports large screen TVs. And because at the core of what we're talking about, it built into this offering is that historian capability, we are able to ingest all kinds of time series data, such as analog, discrete, string, and time and state values. Here's another example of that main screen where you're going to do your root cause analysis or troubleshooting. And here we're looking at a couple of tags that share different engineering units or different measurements, if you will. And sometimes it's interesting, especially in this water wastewater example, where you have a chemical that is off spec. It has a cascading effect by affecting the overall quality of the water, which will then affect other variables that are monitoring other aspects of the water, for example, turbidity. So in this case, you can see how one chemical that, or one tag that has one kind of engineering unit might affect others. But it may also be a little bit lost in this kind of analysis on what the relative variations are. So on the left-hand side, we have a y-axis, which you can click on. It's interactive. And you can pick stacked charts. And when you do that, what we do is we give you the value of each data point within its own relative scale, which highlights the variations in that particular tag. And that allows you to see a cause and effect relationship, right, when you're doing a comparative analysis from one tag to others. Okay, so another pretty cool thing. Let's talk about another experience or angle to this. I showed you earlier the ability to support an iPad, for example. So imagine you give this to your remote workers or field workers, right, or guys out in the trucks, for example, guys and girls. So in that case, you might just have your finger where you want to have that intuitive, mobile app experience with the pinch, zoom, swipe, scroll, and so on. So imagine just using your finger and just tapping on the chart. You can quickly scroll forwards and backwards in time to help you find interesting data. And you can also click on this, or tap, I should say, this kind of zoom function. And once you do that, we give you a cursor that allows you to highlight a part of your process trend and then zoom in for deep root cause analysis. Also very, very cool and lots of good feedback. Here's another thing that we've done, which is right here on the top right-hand side, we have this little scooter that gives you an exact value of the tag with a date timestamp. And we find this is super useful because you see the overall behavior of the tag, but you also see a particular instance if you want to. And then let's say you want to share this with somebody. So in a minute, I'll show you just how easy it is to get data in, but let's talk about how you can get data out as well. Look at the blue circle in the bottom right corner. Here, we give you a couple of options on how to start collaborating around this data. Maybe you want to share this with a named individual on your team. Maybe you think this is useful for everyone to look at, so you share it within your team or community. You can also embed this chart in a custom portal, like a SharePoint enterprise portal. You could just put that chart only right into that common, larger enterprise dashboard, or if you're a system integrator, you could build that into your own solution. Whatever the case is, we give you the HTML code to reference the chart and then make it part of your own or larger solution. Of course, you can also get a little dangerous and download it to CSV or directly to Excel. In fact, we even have native support for Excel Online. So that means you don't have to ever install anything. Neither the client for Wonderware Online nor Office. Everything stays in the cloud. Everything stays in the browser. And we support that direct export there. And you can do some basic calculations in Excel with your data there. And of course, you can push it to a mobile device so you can easily see it. And you can save it for later for your own consumption, privately, if you like. Let's take a look at another angle here that we've had lots of excitement and interest from OEMs, right? So we have a lot of OEMs that are very interested in essentially adopting Wonderware Online to instantly start to collect the data from the equipment that they're delivering to their customers. And the reason why that's so significant is because from a security standpoint, all that data is outbound only. There's no connection back into anyone's network. It's all coming from the machine, initiated from the place of trust to the cloud. And then the cloud is highly available from a high bandwidth location. So the OEM then has visibility from one customer location to another because it's their machine and the data that is shared with them by that customer. And they're the supplier. So then they have the ability to analyze how their equipment is doing in the customer's context. And then they're able to do the analysis and sell back that kind of information as a new revenue stream to let that customer know as a kind of premium customer care experience what they can do to make sure that that asset is always performing as it should or in its best. And then brand it, that's what I'm showing you here, private label or white label brand it with their own color scheme and logos so that it has a look and feel that belongs to their company. And this is what it looks like when you actually log in. We persist those branding changes. So also very nice. Let's talk about that mobile app. So Smart Glance, Wonderware Smart Glance, if you pop open your phone right now, this is the one session where it's okay to pull out your phone. You can go to the Google App Store or Android Google Play and just type in Wonderware. You should find the Wonderware Smart Glance mobile app with green and white. And if you download it, and if you've already signed up, which hopefully you all have by now, to online.wonderware.com, you can log into the mobile app, and as soon as you do, we'll give you some demo data, just as I show you here. And so this has a very consistent look and feel to the browser client, just as I showed you. So you have a bunch of tags on the left-hand side with their data points and a little bit of a spark line, spark trend. And then on the right-hand side, you have some line charts. And we do support, by the way, both landscape and portrait. So we're orientation sensitive. And we also have favorites available, so you can always hit up the reports that matter to you most, like the morning newspaper, if you will. And we also give you, for the first time ever, the ability to interactively change the time period of some of the data that's in Smart Glance, in your reports. And this is all done between the mobile app and the secure cloud set of services where the data is being housed. Continuing on in the theme of trying to do things as proactively as we can for you by trying to make sense of the data on your behalf, just so that you're one step closer to, really focusing on what matters. We're also trying to expose basic downtime tracking information or overall equipment efficiency, just based on some of the raw data that's sitting probably already in your historian, or if not, it's only one step away to getting that kind of visibility. So right here, we have a nice Pareto chart showing you the list of top downtime reasons, and then with a secondary y-axis, the percentage of availability shown there as a result of those downtimes. Let's talk about being even more proactive, I should say. So here, if you just long press on a tag, press and hold, you get this pop-up ability right in the app. That's an individual experience, by the way. Each and every person can themselves create the alerts for the tags that matter to them, right? So it's a personalized experience on a shared platform. So they click the tag name, get the alert capability, then set a threshold for when something is above or below a certain target spec and or in a range or outside of a range, for example. And then, just like a text message, you'll get a push notification letting you know when that trigger, that alert, and I'll just clarify here, it's not an alarm, right? There's no acknowledgement of HMI SCADA alarms in this scenario, but it's rather an alert that'll let you know if that trigger has been passed. And then you can manage those either in the phone, or actually, as of Tuesday, you can now manage and visualize all of this stuff right into the Wonderware Online Insight browser. And the reason I emphasize Tuesday is because another aspect of this whole solution, again, being in the theme of being as proactive as we can, is we're constantly making non-disruptive improvements to the service. So one day you use it, you go to sleep, you wake up, and there's a little present there for you right in the browser, something new and useful to make your life a little bit easier, right? Okay, let's talk about the architecture. Let's talk about the data flow. So like I said earlier today, you got a presentation from Advantech. So here's one of their modules, and this WISE 4000 module has the ability to wire up some sensors to take some ambient conditions and then communicate that data, right? Connect and collect. So now we're connecting to this device and going to start pushing this data, publishing this data from your on-premise network in a single outbound direction, all encrypted to the safe Wonderware secure cloud. And we're going to do that over Modbus. That's one option. Or there's another option, which is we can just go directly through an HTTP post with a JSON or CSV file type, as a matter of fact, right? So two ways of pushing data into Wonderware Online, through our APIs or through our on-premise little desktop tool that we call the publisher. So it could be as simple as that. But we also know that we have a lot of existing investments, obviously, as we stand today. So if you want to try something new, no problem. But if you'd also rather just start with something you already have, then no problem. Whatever your PLCs are, Rockwell, Siemens, Modicon from Schneider Electric, or if you even want to experiment with the Raspberry Pi data source, Not a problem. We can talk to all of those protocols and work that into our little desktop publisher, which can then push that data through your secure IT layers of network up into the Wonderware Online Inside Cloud, which then can expose that information again securely to your device and form factor of choice. So giving you instant visibility into any device that is now instrumented and publishing data on your network. And in fact, it's based on some of the core I/O server technology from Wonderware. That means you have access to over 200 plus drivers. And on top of that, if ever there's anything that goes wrong between the communication from our little publisher and the cloud, you have the full robustness of store and forward capability that will buffer the data and wait for the connection to come back and then backfill that data so you never lose any data points. Okay, so here's the last architectural slide that just summarizes really what's the opportunity in front of you in terms of connecting your assets to a cloud-based solution provided by somebody that's been a long-standing trusted partner and supplier to you that you're already familiar with in a very natural way, through a variety of products, either the classic stuff, which is all the industrial protocols that we're already familiar with, such as OPC, if not Modbus or what have you, and also the new stuff. So exactly as you're learning about these things today, if you get into or dabble with this emerging de facto standard called MQTT, or if you find these device gateways and manufacturers like Sigfox or Libelium, we're working with these companies to be able to ingest those protocols and those data coming from those devices. And of course, if you have Wonderware software like InTouch, if you only have InTouch, did you know that InTouch now natively can publish data to Wonderware Online? So if you have parts of your organization that don't have a historian for whatever reason, now you can enable InTouch just by itself, or even InTouch Machine Edition for that matter. You can have it just directly publish data to Wonderware Online. So Wonderware Online is both a tier 1 historian for those cases where there is no infrastructure on site, and it's also a tier 2 historian able to pull data from multiple historians on-prem that can replicate that data into one central location. Here's a little bit of a slide to just emphasize the support for these emerging protocols such as MQTT. This slide is really trying to have you understand that this hybrid architecture is really the sweet spot for all the cool stuff that's happening in the consumer side with all the higher standards and requirements necessary for the industrial automation side that we fully support and have deep domain knowledge in knowing how to implement, right? So on the left-hand side, you have your control room. The control room represents that single focal point from a variety of devices and protocols where it all collects that into one logical space and connects that to your on-prem industrial platform running on Microsoft's IT platform, right, which is Windows Server or clients or what have you. So Microsoft base with system platform, with the Wonderware industrial base, and then where can you go from there? Well, you can start to bring in these new devices and new protocols. So it's just a +1 incremental step. Then you can share, complement, or extend that data for easy analysis and accessibility into the cloud, and bring in new data from new parts of your business that was previously cost prohibitive. That's what this slide is trying to show you. Okay, so let's talk a little bit, just wrapping up here. Essentially, Wonderware Online is that set of applications, software, services hosted in a secure cloud environment by Wonderware that allows you to easily access, consume, and visualize data that might have otherwise been somewhat isolated and trapped within your existing process control networks. And because it's so accessible and easy to consume, more people can have access to that data. Everyone has a job to do. Everyone wishes they had better information so they can have better decision making, and Wonderware Online helps to facilitate that. And it makes it so conveniently accessible and possible that it's a no-brainer to essentially adopt it and leverage it. And of course, what we expose is not just the raw operational data, high fidelity, high resolution time series data coming from those assets. But we also have now, in this example, added additional layers of sophistication, such as that machine learning, data anomaly detection, dashboarding, KPIs, OE type capabilities to really enhance the amount of context that you have access to help you with your decisions. And that just drives efficiency across the entire organization. And so that's why I remind everyone that no matter who you are and what role you have, please take a look and feel the love in sharing the data that you have from your devices and your assets and your process and your teams into one place that everyone can collaborate around and start doing that kind of performance asset optimization or analysis or process efficiency and so on. So just as a kind of a conclusion, we've put a huge amount of effort into making it a natural, incremental, safe step into continuing your digital journey with us, your longtime partner. And that is evidenced by this offering that we've just shown you here. And we also just want to share with you that we're already used to operating at a scale that sometimes is a concern to some customers about how quickly this is going to, grow. And we're just reminding you here that we've been doing this for many years, and we have hundreds of thousands of customers in over 100,000 locations around the world, processing 4.4 trillion industrial transactions a day. This is a combination of cloud and on-prem, but the idea is that we're already used to dealing with this kind of volume of data, so we're very ready to support you in your growth. And of course, cybersecurity is a key element to all of this. And we've also put significant emphasis and effort into making sure that we earn your digital trust. In fact, we're the first industrial automation company to transparently talk about and publish on a dedicated website exactly what we're doing to help protect your data privacy, to respect your rights, to curate your data, to make your data available to you when you want, to give you control over who gets to see it and what privileges they have. And we describe all of this in detail at trust.wonderware.com. So please check it out, or have your IT department check it out so that they feel good about taking this step so that we can do this together. And here's an example. In New Zealand, gorgeous countryside, we have an OEM company that was looking at Wonderware Online and has decided to deploy it within their solution that they then turn around and sell to farmers. So the scenario is you have these farmers who have these pivots, right? It's this piece of machine or equipment that is doing the irrigation of the crops. And previously those were disconnected, no intelligence, and when they used to pump water through these pivots to irrigate the crops, it was always a bit of a hit and miss on whether it was too much water, too little water, not taking into consideration weather, so sometimes it was redundant, sometimes their movement would be blocked by some kind of obstacle, sometimes the water would leak, there was an efficiency problem, there was a waste problem. So all they did was sign up a couple of cheap sensors, then push that data over cellular networks to some nearby infrastructure, wire that up into Wonderware Online, and then just give all that visibility of that data in real time back to the farmers in a native mobile app and a browser experience. Now the farmers can remotely monitor all of those aspects of that pivot, getting better efficiency from the water going through the irrigation, and also making better decisions about when and where to irrigate what part of the crop. And this really has a huge impact on them, and of course, an impact on the environment as well, as water is becoming such a commodity. So really great success story there. Let's take a look at the bus. So we have this company in Canada, British Columbia, it's called Ballard Power. They make fuel cells, and these fuel cells are the battery powering these environmentally friendly buses that are deployed out in metropolitan cities, and they have business in North America and exploding business in Asia. And so what happens is we send out these fuel cells in the buses, and then the buses do their routes for 12-hour shifts. They come back to a depot, they pick up a Wi-Fi hotspot, they publish all the data Wonderware Online, then Ballard Power gets to analyze that data and see what the performance and telemetry of that battery was, so that they can feed it back into R&D and get even better at getting more mileage and better warranty conditions out of that fuel cell. and therefore the owners and operators of the bus company get a better, more efficient product that lasts longer and is more reliable. So another great story. Let's take a look at one more, which is in Seminole County, Florida, wastewater treatment plant, a municipality out there. And here we had a case where we had some operators that were needing to manage geographically distributed assets, like water treatment plants, water towers, and they had to get into their truck and drive around, do a spot check on that part of the process and find out, are things running? Are they running as expected? Is there a problem? What is the problem? And actually, what expert needs to fix that problem? So now, once we got them hooked up with SmartGlance and Wonderware Online, they were able to remotely monitor these things, know instantly and in advance if there was a problem, what the problem was, instantly dispatch the right expert to go fix that problem, and have a lot more time in their hands to drive better water quality instead of doing windshield time, which is the amount of time that they had to spend in a truck running around doing these spot checks. And another fun anecdotal story that came out of this is some of the operators, because this information is just sitting right there in their phone in their pocket, they just had better engagement at work because, you know, they were classically working on shifts, but, you know, after the shift, you know, you're done with work. But some of the operators, of course, being proud of their work, standing in line at the movies, they could literally just check into the process all securely because they're not connecting directly to the process control network. Instead, they're connecting to the data that was securely pushed into the Wonderware Secure Cloud so they could check a process and they could check tank levels, they could check chemical levels, they could check whether pumps are running or not, and they could let somebody know instantly, like, hey, I noticed this, you should go check it out, right? So really interesting human element story there where it's higher engagement from operators. All right, so what am I trying to say? Well, what I'm trying to say is hopefully what you got out of today's presentation is you've heard about what industrial IoT is and the promises that it brings. You saw some partners today that showed you something you can actually buy and take home with you that will enable you to start instrumenting and collecting data from sensors. Then from me, you saw a software solution hosted in the cloud that takes no more than 5 minutes to sign up for, and then to start replicating data into that platform to get instant visibility into the data from those devices. And so we feel like we're ready whenever you're ready to take that first step. And certainly we're standing by to help you every step of the way. And of course, for you as an individual, one of the things that is my personal objective is instead of going to the Monday meeting, if you bear with me here for a second, and talking about how you went to this workshop and you saw awesome things and then you'd like permission to do something about it, even in a test environment with test data, you could show up at the next status meeting and saying, hey, I did something. I went to this workshop, I saw some cool stuff, I was able to get all the pieces together and literally sign up. I didn't need any resources, I didn't need a budgetary approval, I didn't need a meeting of a meeting or a committee. I sent the IT people, trust.wonderware.com, and it all worked out and I was able to do it. And if we like this stuff, as shown here on my iPad, right, that I can project to a large screen monitor in the TV room to drive a structured meeting, if we like where this is going and this is valuable, we can do more, right? And you pay as you go, and as you grow, we grow with you, right? So that's what we're trying to get across here. So with that, I will stop here and say thank you very much for your attention. And if you have any questions, I'll take them now. Thank you so much.